Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into this really fascinating study that completely flips the script on AI. Instead of us testing the machines, these researchers found a way to make the machines test themselves, and what they had to say could change, well, pretty much everything.
I mean, this question is everywhere, right? You can't escape it. It feels like every single day there's some new AI breakthrough that's more powerful than the last. And the assumption, the story we've all been told, is that this is a one-way street to full automation.
And hey, when you look at the timeline, you can see why we think that. I mean, it goes from a chess computer back in '97 to models today that are showing what look like real sparks of general intelligence. The whole narrative has been this relentless march forward, which makes it feel like human replacement isn't a question of if, but when.
But what if we've been asking the wrong question this whole time? This new paper suggests we have. It completely shifts the focus away from just raw performance, and instead looks at the cold, hard math of reliability. It questions whether a fully autonomous AI is even possible.
So the researchers, they put a name to this flaw in our thinking. They call it the completeness fallacy. It's this idea that just because an AI scores, say, a 95% on some test, it's ready to be let loose on its own. But that last 5%, that's the danger zone. That's where things get totally unpredictable, and it makes full autonomy a massive, massive gamble.
So they stopped asking, how good is this AI? And instead, they asked something way more profound. They asked, what are the actual mathematical odds that any AI, no matter how powerful, can solve a totally new, complex problem with absolutely zero human help? And to answer that, they came up with this brilliant experiment. They didn't use any of the old benchmarks. Nope. They went straight to the source. They decided to ask the AIs themselves.
Okay, so here's how they pulled it off. First, they cooked up these incredibly difficult math problems, the kind that need a real flash of creative insight, not just crunching through old data. Then they took these problems to 8 of the most advanced AIs on the planet. And here's the kicker. They asked each AI, okay, what's the probability you can solve this, all by yourself, no human safety net?
All right, so let's get into it, because what these AIs confessed was not what anyone was expecting, and it really does change the entire conversation.
So instead of all of them saying, yeah, I got this, their answers split into these two main camps. You had a pretty big group that was super pessimistic about their own chances, and then a tiny little sliver that was optimistic. This isn't a picture of machines on the verge of taking over, it's a picture of widespread self-doubt.
And when you break it down by model, it gets even more interesting. I mean, look at this range. You've got Gemini 2.5 giving itself basically a 0% chance, all the way up to Grok being pretty confident. But look really closely here. What's the one thing that's missing? Not a single one, not even the most optimistic model claimed 100% certainty.
Even the most powerful system in the whole test, this special combo called ASEON8, it only gave itself a 72 to 85% chance. So the researchers ran the numbers and figured that even in a perfect hypothetical best-case scenario, the absolute ceiling for success would be 98%. And this is the core of the entire study. 98% is not 100%. And that 2% gap, that might sound small, but if you're talking about medicine or finance or flying a plane, a 2% chance of failure is catastrophic. It's this irreducible gap that makes full, reliable autonomy impossible.
So that little gap led the researchers to a conclusion about our future with AI that's as powerful as it is simple. It's basically a mathematical proof.
So, rule number 1, based on what the AIs themselves are telling us, the probability that any AI model can succeed all on its own is always less than 100%. There's always a chance it's going to fail. And that leads to the big punchline. If the chance of AI success is always less than 1, then logically, the probability that human help will be needed is always greater than 0. It never hits 0. Mathematically speaking, a human always has to be part of the equation. So why can't they close that gap? Well, according to the AIs themselves, the bottleneck is something called creative insight. That uniquely human spark that lets us solve problems we've never seen before, not just spot patterns from the past. For now, it seems like that's one skill you just can't turn into code.
Okay, so what does this all mean for us? Well, it paints a completely new picture of our future with AI. It's a future that moves away from replacement and fear and toward a totally new kind of partnership.
This research is telling us we need to just ditch that old story about AI replacing us.
The new reality, the one the math actually supports, is one of a permanent, necessary partnership. Human oversight isn't just some temporary training wheels, it's a fundamental part of the engine.
And the study ends with this really powerful idea. Needing a human in the loop isn't a bug. It's not a sign that AI has failed. It's a core feature of how complex problems get solved, period. It's about combining the lightning-fast calculation of a machine with the creative insight of a human to build something way better than either could ever be alone.
So the real takeaway here isn't about AI's limitations. It's that its ultimate success might actually depend entirely on us. And that reframes everything, doesn't it? It leaves us with one last, really crucial question we all have to think about as we build this future together.